In this example, we will talk about dialogues. So there are a lot of dialogues that you can use in your Android apps, but we will be discussing three types of dialogues here. Let me know if you want me to discuss any other dialogues as well. But for now, we will be discussing only three types of dialogues. So this is the design that you get to see. There are three buttons here: normal dialogue, date dialogue, and customized dialogue. Now let's talk about the text part of this layout. So this is a linear layout, orientation is vertical, and then you have button here because it's linear layout and vertical orientation. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what we are trying to do here. There's a text view also here, and let me add something to this which will be better if we add increase the text size. So let's make this 30 sp, right? You'll get to know why this text view is here later. So this is the app that we will be making. The dialogue, normal dialogue is here. Let me click on this. Title for dialogue, message for dialogue, no and yes, two buttons are there. If I click on no, then you click no, and similarly for yes also. Date dialogue, this gives me the date. So let me choose 21st September, and I get to see you chose 2017-8/21. And customized dialogue, so here is a customized dialogue on which I can write whatever I want to, and then whatever I write here and then click on OK, this text that I wrote there will be displayed here, and there'll be post message as well here, right? So let's discuss what exactly do we need to do there. Here is there are three buttons here. Three buttons are there are three references that have been made for these three buttons, and then well, we can delete this. We don't really require this, or wait, yeah, we don't require this. So here is a text view. Now you know why text view was there, right? So this is a text view, txt main screen, and here we have the three buttons defined properly, and then we are setting on click listener on them, and then we have also defined the text view here, right? Now let's talk about what happens when we click on these buttons. If you click on button normal, so the way I've implemented this is there's only one on click method, and we are in fact there can be only one on click method. You can only override it once. All you can do is you can use switch case or some other way to figure out which button has been clicked, right? So here is switch case implementation. I'm trying to figure out here view is what gets passed when a button is clicked, and then by calling get id on this, I'm trying to figure out which button actually got clicked. So if it was case rid button 1, then I will be doing this code. So what exactly is happening here is alert dialog is a class in Android which allows you to make dialogues, and then builder is an inner class for alert dialog. We made an object out of it here by using this constructor alert dialog dot builder and main activity dot this is the context which you need to pass. This is a requirement of this constructor. Now here, as you can see, alert builder dot set title set message are two simple methods that just require strings for them to work. Now here, as you can see, alert builder is the object of this same object that we created here. Alert builder is now, we are calling a method on it which is called set positive button. Of course, these all methods are coming, we are able to use these methods because we have created an alert dialog dot builder object, and only that is the reason why we are able to use these methods here. So we have so what arguments it takes is, first you have to give yes, that is basically what you want to be there on that button, and then new dialog interface. This is anonymous implementation here again. Dialog interface is an interface, and on click listener is one of its methods, or you can say on click dialog interface dot on click listener is basically an interface which you can use, and you need to override on click here like I have done it here. So we click on click, and then post message gets generated that you clicked yes. All right. One thing which I want you to really understand here is that whenever you look at such long implementations, always make sure that you do understand how exactly or what all is being passed as an argument here. So what exactly is being passed is, first is this yes button, this yes text is getting passed, and then you have, this is the first argument that is getting passed, and then you have this entire implementation as the second argument. All right, so because there is no comma which comes after this, of course there is this comma, but that is inside these braces, so that does not really count. And this entire thing is getting ended here. Here it ends, right? So there are only two arguments that it requires here, and that is, first one is the name of the button, and second one is the entire implementation. This is very similar to any normal button when they are implemented using anonymous class implementation. So you also need to write dialog.cancel here, because this needs to be carried out if the user clicks on the yes button. The very similar implementation is there in no also. This is the name of the button, and then this is the entire implementation. In case you require me to prepare a lecture on the anonymous class implementation, I'm happy to do that. Just put it in in the comment section, and in case a lot of people ask for it, I'll definitely do that. So this is the toast message which gets generated if you click on no button. I don't think I really need to explain this, but this dialog.cancel will get executed only when the button is clicked, the no button is clicked, right? So this is the effectiveness of the dialog.cancel. It gets into action only when no button is clicked. So I am sure you already know that. I just like to point it out. And then you are out of when you get out of these implementations, you see that we are finally creating a dialog here. So till now we were just using alert builder to create a blueprint of the entire dialog, and here is when we actually made the dialog using dot create and then ad.show. So ad.show is what actually starts showing the dialog. So not to, there's nothing to discuss here. You know that ad.show will show the dialog, and dialog.cancel will only be executed when no or yes is clicked, right? So nothing to worry as such. The why is dialog.cancel coming before ad.show? You already know that dialog.cancel is inside this implementation, and ad.show is outside the implementation. Now let's talk about button 2. Button 2 is this button, which is like which is going to take care of the date picker. So as you remember, there was a date picker dialog which opened up. The calendar basically got opened up. So this is calendar cal1 is equal to calendar.get instance. This will get me the one instance of calendar class object. So cal1 will now have the instance of calendar class object. Let me show this one thing to you which is quite important here. I want you guys to remember that when you are implementing calendar class for this example, make sure that this is the library that you import, java.util.calendar. It's a Java library. There is another library out there which is by Android, that is ICU, something like that, ICU calendar. Don't do that, don't use that. There's nothing wrong with it. If you use it, then you will have to carry out more operations or some other operations. Of course it has its own benefits, but because it's a simple example that we are discussing, then you just need to import this library here. Most of the times developers commit a mistake here. Now coming back to the same button, this is we basically created an object called as cal1, which is pointing to one calendar instance, and which basically means that this cal1 is now ready to understand the concept of calendars, right? Now here date picker dialog is another class. We are creating an object of it, new date picker dialog. This is entire constructor which is getting used here. Please see that this is constructor, and these all are arguments of that constructor. A very interesting implementation you are seeing here. This is a constructor wherein we are defining everything inside the constructor only. Again, this is very confusing if you are a beginner, but believe it or not, gradually you will start loving these things, because these things make the code very crisp. And because again, if you can really see this is again an anonymous class implementation, right? So these things make the code very crisp, and as well as it also saves you a lot of memory, right? So as a good developer, you should get hang of these things and start using these things, right? So now if we were to talk about number of arguments that are there in this constructor, this is the first argument. Basically you have to give the context. Then the second argument is after this comma, and this argument is basically the entire implementation on anonymous class implementation, the highlighted in blue. Date picker, new date picker dialog dot on date set listener. This is very similar to view dot on click listener. So basically, on date set listener is an interface, and which belongs to date picker dialog class, and we are calling, or rather overriding, a method called on date set here, which will provide us these the three important things that we require: year, month of year, and day of month. So once user clicks on OK button of let me take you back. So once the user clicks on OK here, only then this gets activated. So please try to understand that this interface, the method on date set, gets called when the user clicks on OK button and not when they choose a date. This is a very common flaw that developers commit. So just make sure that you know that this is on date set. This is the method that gets called only when the user clicks on the OK button. So this will give you a toast message, and then this is where the argument, the second argument ends, and then we have cal1 dot get calendar dot year, month, month and day of month. So this is where we are actually fetching the year, month of month and day of month. This basically makes sure that when we open our app, or rather when we open this calendar, as you can see today it's 15th of September, and this app will open, this calendar will open only on 15th of September, right? So this is the reason why we are calling these these three, we are calling a calendar dot year and month and day of month, right? Finally we show it, and that's about it. One point to be noted here is that there is no cancellation required here, because that it automatically gets cancelled when the user clicks on OK button. All right, so this is the date picker dialog, and let's talk about the third dialog, which is the custom dialog. This is the button 3, and as you can see we have used a dialog class here. This is not alert dialog, this is normal dialog class. We have created an object of it, and you need to give it a context. So the way we have given context here is we have used final context. Context is this. Now in dialog.set content view, now this is very interesting actually. You can use the method called set content view here again. It was used earlier, it is always used in the on create method, but because we are creating another dialog here, Android gives us the set content view here as well. So you can call this method on this object, dialog object that you just created here out of context, and then you can give it a layout, r.layout.custom. So custom layout is here. If you remember, there was an image view there, there was a small smiley there. So this is the image view, and then there's an edit text here, and then there's a button which is called as OK. All right, so this is the edit text here, which we are basically defining an object called as ed here. So we created the object ed here. Why we have written final here is something which we will discuss soon. So this is the button here, dialog button, which was there inside the dialog. And one thing which I want you to understand here is that this is the dialog which is mentioned here before find view by id. So basically we are calling this method on this object dialog. Why? Because otherwise find view by id will implicitly understand, or rather try to find this id in the main layout, activity underscore main, the one which was having all the buttons, and we don't want that to happen, right? So what we need to do is we need to go and tell it that you need to go and find the dialog in this, you need to find the edit text in this object. And now that we have given it a content view, basically a layout, so it will be able to find a layout, an edit text here. Similar thing is being done with button also here. And then now the button is being implemented using the anonymous class implementation here. Now because it's anonymous class implementation, or rather anonymous implementation, you can understand one thing, that this is the toast message here, which is fine, right? One thing which you need to understand is that now you are going to set the text here, text main screen. This is the object of the text view that we had created on the main screen, that is this screen. there's a text view here which is not visible. Yeah, now you can see there's a text view here, right? So this is that text view, and then we are calling a method set text ed.getText.toString. This will basically return whatever the user has typed inside the edit text, and that will then get set inside this text view, right? And then you finally dialog.dismiss, you basically dismiss the dialog, and that's after that you have dialog.show, and then you break, right? So all looks good. Now one thing which we need to discuss here is that why have I put final here? I have put final here because whatever I'm doing here is inside the anonymous class implementation, or rather the inner class implementation right now, right? So variable ed is accessed from within inner class needs to be declared final, and because this is inner class that we are dealing with, we need to declare it final. Now if I remove this final, then again this tells me that variable dialog is accessed from within inner class which needs to be declared final, and that's why I will put final here, right? So this is all because right now the this place that I am dealing with right now is actually I'm inside an anonymous class implementation, and what happens in anonymous class implementation is that you cannot really point to that object whatever is taking care of, uh, you cannot really point to a particular object, and because there is no object created, and whatever object gets created gets destroyed only after the implementation, just after the implementation, right? So you got to understand that, and that's why you have to declare it final. In case you have doubts about this, do put questions in the comment section. I will definitely clarify it even more. Not to worry, but you need to tell me if you not really understood this. All right, so that's about it. This is the anonymous class implementation for custom dialog, and that's it for this tutorial. Please subscribe to this channel, and like the button and share it with your friends. Thank you so much.